Hi. Okay, let's go with the intro to Don't Call It a Fucking Journey. And this one is a pretty long intro. But it also is the beginning of my second life, I guess, of being disabled. Okay, so Don't Call It a Fucking Journey introduction. This isn't a journey. This is my life. This isn't a chosen path. It was inflicted upon me. December 12th. That is not correct. It was December 15th. December 15th, 2015, 6 weeks before my 36th birthday. The date is forever seared in my memory, even if I fat fingered it in the book. I will change that when I republish. 4 words changed my life permanently, irrevocably. You have multiple sclerosis. I had an out-of-body experience because my brain couldn't handle it. I didn't know why I was in that room, floating above a doctor and someone who looked like me, talking about multiple sclerosis, because I didn't have it. I thought it would just be a speed bump. I thought I'd go back to work soon and maybe stumble a bit here and there. But I had an overwhelming feeling that I'd spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. I fought against it. I was going to keep walking. It was weird how I just stopped the week before, after lunch with my niece and nephew. But if I'd stopped that suddenly, I'd start again suddenly, right? I'd just put my beloved Labrador of 17 years down, and for less than what I'd soon go through. I just left my church I'd loved and served in for my whole life, but realized I had to part ways with. A part of my life had just ended. But I'd just gotten my master's, for which I'd worked too long and too hard for nearly a decade, 7 years after I walked. I just procured a job teaching public speaking at an accredited college, accredited university, using my degree, and doing some of my greatest passions, teaching and speaking publicly. I just procured another job, waitressing again, which I'd missed. I was comfortable in my day job, being a copywriter, which used another passion, writing. I was back in the saddle of being a workaholic again, 3 jobs, which I loved. I've worked since I was 14. Work has often been enjoyable, usually a nice distraction from my crappy personal life. So a part of my life had just begun. But I couldn't work again, not my day job. I fatigued too easily to work full-time. But I tried for a few months, not making more than 12 or 15 hours a week. Good old FMLA. Certainly I couldn't do waitressing now. I went in for 2 hours before I was diagnosed and fell 3 times. I tried walking again, I really did. It was laborious even with a walker. I taught college for 1 term. 15 years of teaching college, of trying to teach college, resulted in only a master's, not a PhD, and using it for only 1 term. My walking again led to falls, bruises, broken bones, and within a few short months, a skilled nursing home. I was barely 36. I couldn't move below the armpits. I had very little processing time from inability to walk to diagnosis to inability to move to a wheelchair. So a part of my life had just ended. Again. But not just a part, who I was. I was confined to skilled nursing homes and assisted livings, unable to work, barely able to move, then given a diagnosis of fibromyalgia on top of MS. And people insisted that I be happy all the time. If I'd had a job or a family or something normal to complain about, that'd be okay. But complaining about my lack of jobs and family because of my sudden debilitating diseases, well, no one knows what to say. My inability to bear children had been around for 2 decades. I also had endometriosis. But I was going to adopt. Until I was put out to pasture, several decades ahead of schedule. Still, no one knows what to say. So they say stupid shit like, just think positive, as if that'll cure me. You're so brave, as if I'm choosing this life. You're learning so much on your journey, as if I'm taking a goddamn nature walk, on purpose, for the rest of my fucking life. I needed to be the happy cripple to make them more comfortable, to give them a heartwarming story, to be an inspiration, but no longer a person. So I started to write poetry again. This is a collection of the first several years post-diagnosis. But everything is post-diagnosis now. There's no going back. I'd like to pretend it won't someday consume my life. But it is my life now. I still choose not to let it define me, as I'm so much more than my diseases. But it does control my activities, and I really can't change that. No amount of pain pills or caffeine will take away the pain and fatigue I feel every moment. No amount of lotion or cream will take away the numb yet tingly sensation all over my body. No amount of hope or thinking positive will make me walk again, work again, live like I did again. But maybe writing will give me some measure of hope again, some measure of purpose again. I don't hide my meanings like famous poets. Like most poets, I make my poems easy to understand, but only if you've been there too, or someplace similar. Because no one knows what to say. I'm real. I'm raw. I'm deep. I'm vulnerable. I'm probably too vulnerable. I suppose that makes me human. I take solace in the fact that anyone who might be hurt by my vulnerability would never purchase my books anyway. But I hope they would. I take solace in the fact that by being vulnerable, I'm helping people. I'm saying the words they need to hear to recognize that they too have value. I bare my soul in the pages of these books in the hopes of saving a life, saving a friendship, improving a quality of life, and all of that. And that makes me a productive member of society again. That gives me purpose again. That makes me happy again. I recognize most of these poems are depressing. Most poetry is. Poetry requires emotion and depth, and happiness is fleeting. But I am happy. I'm learning how to adapt to the handicapped world. I'm learning how to become more independent again. I'm learning the boundaries my body is placing on me, and the boundaries I should have placed on my heart a long time ago. And I hope that you are learning to weather life's storms. I hope that you are happy, but also that you are learning that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. It's okay to break. It's okay to ask for help in fixing yourself. It's okay to say no if you can't help fix someone else right now. So I will answer an age-old question every English professor asks. What is literature? Literature is a relationship between the writer and the reader. It means whatever the reader takes it to mean that is most valuable at that time, and that meaning changes as the reader changes. As I said, my poems don't hide their meanings. But if you derive something other than what I intended, then that's what that means. Because the reader makes sense of the blank space in the stories. The reader makes the meanings real. And so I thank you for allowing me to be a part of your life, as I have bravely, stupidly, some adverb, allowed you to be a part of mine.